Healing the Mother Wound, a step-by-step guide to break free, finding inner freedom. Have you ever felt a pain that you couldn't name, the silent emptiness left by the love you never received? In this video, we dive into the profound journey of healing the deepest wounds, those formed when love didn't come from where it should have. Society teaches us that certain bonds must be sacred. Yet reality often tells a different story. We'll explore the hidden impact of the mother wound, how it shapes your identity, relationships, and emotional life. Most importantly, you'll learn that healing is possible, not through blame, but through awareness, compassion, and self-liberation. Stay with us until the end. Together, we'll uncover how to transform pain into strength, reclaim your voice, and gently return to your authentic self. This isn't just psychology, it's the beginning of a profound inner awakening. When love does not come from where it should, facing the first wound. Have you ever wondered why the people who were supposed to love us the most sometimes become the source of our deepest, most hidden pain? Society has woven a seemingly immutable narrative, that a mother's love is unconditional, that every mother instinctively loves, protects, and nurtures her children. But for many people, reality does not look like that. The emptiness from not being truly loved by one's mother often comes with a heavy burden of guilt. You might have asked yourself hundreds of times, was I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Yet, these questions only dig deeper into a wound you were never allowed to name. Because society rarely accepts the idea that a child could feel hurt by their mother. Such pain is often seen as selfishness or ingratitude. So you learn to stay silent. You learn to tuck your emotions away. Hide them in the deepest corners of your soul, smiling outwardly while inside, a cold emptiness grew. But avoiding pain does not make it disappear. Denial only allows the wound to silently shape how you see the world, how you love, how you trust, or fear, relationships. You are not weak for feeling this pain. You are strong because you are lucid enough to recognize it exists. And at the moment you dare to face it, you step into the profound healing journey. The journey back to yourself. Healing the mother wound is not about blaming. It is about acknowledging what happened and freeing yourself from the invisible burden you have carried your whole life. Because true love cannot be forced. And your worth has never depended on whether someone else was capable of loving you the right way. Two faces of pain, the visible and the hidden wounds. Not all wounds with the mother are as obvious as scars on the skin. Some grow silently, seeping into the very roots of the self. Until you can no longer distinguish who you are from the traces left by the past. The mother wound has two faces. One is the visible wound, easy to recognize. Easy to name. These are the memories of abandonment, criticism, emotional or physical abuse. Children carrying these wounds grow up with a pain they are acutely aware of. But the other face is far more dangerous. It is the hidden wound, sweet like honey but poisonous to the soul. It is the result of conditional love, subtle control, or an excessive emotional bond that transforms a mother into a friend, a confidant, a support system, rather than a real mother. Children growing up in this environment often do not realize they have been wounded. From the outside, the love looks complete. But hidden beneath is the message. You must become what your mother wants to be worthy of love. This message distorts the child's self-image and leads them to forget who they truly are. What makes the hidden wound so perilous is not only that it is hard to recognize, but also that the bearer is often the one who denies it. My mother loved me, I have nothing to complain about. They convince themselves, while deep inside remains an undefined anxiety, a sense of disorientation, an unexplainable emptiness. Recognizing both faces of the wound is the first step to reclaiming your inner power. Because healing cannot begin with denial, it must start by facing the truth, even if that truth is complicated, painful, or shatters the illusions you once clung to. Cracks in the foundation, how the mother wound shapes the mind. When a child is born, the mother is not just the first embrace. She is the gateway to the world. Through her gaze, her smile, her arms, the child learns a basic belief, whether the world is safe or dangerous. Whether they are lovable as they are or must change to be accepted. But what happens when that gaze is cold, when that embrace is absent? When love comes and goes unpredictably. The child does not merely feel momentary pain. They begin to construct a distorted map of the world. In that map, love becomes dangerous. Authenticity becomes risky. And the self, which should have been at the center of unconditional love, becomes something that must constantly adapt to survive. Carl Jung once said, "The first image of the world a person holds in their mind is the image of their mother. When that image is wounded, the entire emotional foundation, trust patterns, and ways of connecting with others are fractured. You may grow up, study, work, fall in love. But deep inside, a vague fear lingers, the fear of not being loved, the fear of abandonment. The fear that revealing your true self might cost you every connection you hold dear." Thus, many live their lives half-trusting, half-doubting, yearning for intimacy yet fearing the pain it might bring, seeking love while building walls to protect themselves. The crucial truth is that fear is not who you are. It is a result of the cracks in your emotional foundation, formed during the years when you had no defense. Understanding this is not about assigning blame. It is about reclaiming the power to rebuild that foundation, this time, with conscious awareness and an awakened heart. The past may have shaped you, but the future is yours to create. When love becomes fear, the formation of attachment wounds. From those first cracks in the bond with the mother, attachment wounds begin to form. They silently mold the way we love, trust, or avoid connection in adulthood, even when we are unaware of it. If childhood love was unpredictable, sometimes present, sometimes absent, the child learns to live in constant anxiety. Love becomes fragile and precarious. This forms anxious attachment, growing up with a fear of abandonment, loving too intensely, clinging too tightly, shrinking oneself just to hold on to relationships. If childhood emotions were neglected or dismissed, the child learns, it is better not to show yourself at all. This leads to avoidant attachment. Adults from this background tend to be emotionally distant, building invisible walls to shield themselves from anticipated pain. Worse still, when the mother is both a source of love and harm, the child grows up in chaos, love and fear become intertwined. This is disorganized attachment, resulting in unstable, tumultuous relationships full of inner conflict and repeated cycles of hurt. Recognizing your attachment style is not about confining yourself to a label. It is about realizing that you have the power to learn a new way of loving, one that is free, conscious, and no longer ruled by old wounds. The mother within, dialoguing with the imprinted image. When we think of our mothers, we often picture the real woman, her face, her voice, her familiar gestures. But deep inside, a much more powerful image resides, the mother within. This is a psychological image, built not just from what the mother did, but from how the child subjectively experienced the world through her. Carl Jung called it the archetype of the Great Mother, a symbol representing both nurturing and, at times, suffocating control and abandonment. When childhood lacks stability, the internal image of the mother often skews toward the dark side, a demanding, critical, or emotionally absent figure. Even as adults, even after physically moving away from our mothers, this inner mother continues to whisper, judge, and make us doubt ourselves. The danger lies in how often we unconsciously react to this inner mother without realizing it. We seek endless validation. We fear failure, fear rejection, as if still desperately trying to win the love we never fully received as children. True healing does not come only from understanding the real mother in the outside world. It comes from engaging in dialogue with the mother within. Because real freedom does not come from changing others, but from changing the way we carry them inside our own hearts. Mask and shadow, when the ego is born from fear of rejection. To survive in an environment where love always comes with conditions, the child is forced to adapt. They learn to wear a mask. Becoming the most pleasing version in others' eyes, obedient, accomplished, easy to control. Carl Jung called this mask the persona, the social face each of us creates to be accepted. Persona is not fake, it is a necessary part of integrating into the world. But when we cling to it too deeply, we begin to forget who we truly are. Along with the construction of the persona comes the birth of the shadow, the part of ourselves that was rejected and locked away in the dark corners of the soul. It could be anger, sadness, desires, or rebellion, all those emotions once deemed unacceptable. But what is pushed into the shadow does not disappear. It returns in the form of sudden anxiety, inferiority complexes, emotional outbursts, or repeating broken relationship patterns. The more we strive to live solely through the persona, the further we drift from our authentic selves. We no longer live, we merely survive to satisfy a foreign image. The first step toward inner freedom is recognizing the mask we are wearing, and daring to face the forgotten shadow. Because only when we embrace both our light and our darkness can we truly become whole. Mother complex, when the wounded child still controls your life. There are moments when you act not as a rational adult, but as a panicked child desperately trying to secure love. In those moments, what controls you is not the present, but the past, more precisely, the mother complex still buried in your unconscious. The mother complex is a collection of unresolved emotions, memories, and reactions related to the image of the mother. Even if the real mother has changed, even if years have passed, this complex still quietly operates in the shadows of your mind. When the mother complex is triggered, you do not react to the present situation, but as the wounded child once did, fearful, anxious for acceptance, or conversely, avoiding love for fear of being hurt again. You may wonder why you keep repeating painful relationships. Why insecurity creeps in even during moments of happiness. The answer lies within the unconscious loops you have yet to recognize. The good news is, when the light of awareness shines on the mother complex, you reclaim agency. You are no longer the child blindly reacting to old pain. You become the adult, someone capable of responding to reality with consciousness and self-love. Loving the wrong person, when childhood wounds choose your partners. You may think you are choosing who to love. But in truth, many times, it is your unhealed wounds choosing for you. If during childhood you longed for approval from a cold, indifferent, or harsh mother, you are unconsciously drawn to people who resemble that pattern. Not because they make you happy, but because your mind is trying to recreate the old wound, hoping this time it might finally be healed. Carl Jung called this the influence of anima and animus, the internal images of the opposite sex. Shaped by our earliest relationships with our parents. A man wounded by his mother might seek out distant, unapproachable women. A woman carrying the same wound might unconsciously heed a harsh inner voice, seeking out relationships full of pressure and control. These relationships repeat the old cycle, craving love, facing rejection, and blaming oneself again. But this cycle is not destiny. When you recognize who is really choosing, your healed self or your wounded self, you can stop. You can learn to love from a place of awareness, not from a place of unhealed pain. Only when you heal yourself can you love with a free heart, rather than with the trembling hands of a child who was never fully embraced. The beautiful mask, when a narcissistic mother creates a lost child. Not all wounds come from obvious actions like yelling or abandonment. Some wounds are disguised beneath the facade of love, the kind of love that only exists when you meet someone else's expectations. This is the wound created by a narcissistic mother. A mother who, on the surface, appears devoted and self-sacrificing, but deep down, sees her child as an extension of herself. The love offered is not for the real child, but for the version the mother wishes to see. In that environment, the child learns to trade authenticity for survival. They become the ideal child, always pleasing, always seeking approval. always suppressing their true feelings. To be loved, they must abandon themselves. And so a mask is formed, a beautiful mask of perfection, of absolute loyalty. But beneath that facade is a suffocated true self, a soul living in constant fear of not being good enough, not being worthy of love. As adults, these children often continue seeking acceptance from others, denying their true needs, and feeling guilty whenever they try to live authentically. Understanding this is not about assigning blame. It is about recognizing that true love never demands you to lose yourself. And the journey back to your authentic self begins with the courageous act of slowly removing that mask. With compassion for who you truly are. The mirror of generations, when wounded parents repeat the cycle on their children. Pain never begins with you. It is a current flowing through generations. Silently passed down from one to another like an invisible legacy. Many people grow up wounded and, without realizing it, pass that pain on to their own children, not because they do not love them, but because they were never taught how to love in a healthy way. They carry within themselves old expectations, fears, and behavior patterns deeply embedded from memories they often cannot even fully recall. Thus, the cycle continues. Children are forced to grow up too soon, taught to suppress emotions, to brace themselves to meet the emotional needs their parents could never resolve. If you fear that you might unconsciously hurt your children, it is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of awakening. Only those who are conscious fear repeating the mistakes of the past. You cannot change the past, but you can choose to stop the cycle with your generation. You can choose to confront the wound, ensuring it does not continue to bleed into the lives of the next generation. Through presence, through the courage to look deeply within, you not only heal yourself, you also open a new chapter. One where pain is no longer passed down as destiny but is halted by love and conscious awareness. Rewriting the story, practical steps to heal the mother wound. Healing is not an abstract idea. It is a journey that requires patient and honest practice. And sometimes, that journey begins with something surprisingly simple, writing. Write a letter to your mother, not to send, but so that you, for the first time, can express what you have never spoken aloud. Write about the pain, the anger, the disappointment. Write about the unfulfilled longings. The moments when you had to stifle your cries or swallow your sadness. Do not worry about polishing your words. Just let your emotions lead the way. Because when you write, memories will surface. And buried emotions will gradually take shape. You will begin to see that the insecurities, the wounds in your current relationships, and even the way you view yourself have roots far deeper than you ever imagined. And when your words touch the core of your pain, forgive, not because someone else deserves it, but because you deserve freedom. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgiveness means untying the cord that binds you to the past, so you no longer have to carry that burden for another day. At the end of the letter, perform a small ritual, burn it. Watch the flames consume the painful memories, and imagine your heart opening up, feeling lighter, freer. Returning to yourself, the journey of individuation and inner freedom. Healing the mother wound is not merely an act of liberation from the past. It is the journey of returning to your true self, the journey Carl Jung called individuation. Individuation is not about becoming a flawless, perfect version of yourself. It is the process of accepting both your light and your shadow. It means daring to look at the parts of yourself once forced into denial, your weaknesses, your anger, your fear, and recognizing that they, too, deserve to exist, to be understood, and to be loved. You no longer have to live according to the roles others expect. No longer must you wear a mask to gain acceptance. You begin to choose to live aligned with your inner truth, even if that means learning to say no, setting boundaries, and protecting your own dreams and values. Inner freedom does not come from changing those around you, nor from rewriting the past. It comes from the moment you decide, I will no longer define myself through the eyes of others. This journey is not smooth. There will be days when you feel lost, moments when old pain rushes back. But unlike before, you now have a choice. You know you are no longer the helpless child of yesterday. You are the conscious author of your own story, a story no longer dictated by old wounds, but guided by awareness, courage, and love for yourself. Building inner strength, from wounded child to mature self. Healing the mother wound does not end with understanding, forgiving, or letting go of the past. It marks the beginning of a new journey, the journey of building true inner strength. As a child, you once depended entirely on others for love, recognition, and protection. But now, you can learn to give yourself what you once lacked. You can become the steadfast father, the nurturing mother, and the loyal companion to your own inner child. Building inner strength begins with small but persistent acts. It is learning to speak words of love to yourself every day. It is establishing clear principles, not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself. It is daring to set boundaries in relationships that hurt you, even if it means facing moments of loneliness. The ability to control yourself grows from such moments, when you choose to stand by your values instead of seeking external approval. When you dare to stay present with uncomfortable emotions rather than numbing them with old habits. Inner strength does not mean becoming cold or invulnerable. It is the ability to stand firm even when storms rage. It is knowing you can face every emotion, both love and hurt, without losing yourself. Finding meaning, turning wounds into guiding light. After all the pain you have endured, you may wonder, where does it all lead? Is there meaning hidden behind the losses? The silent wounds of the past? The answer is, yes. But that meaning does not appear by itself. It is created through your conscious choice. The choice not to let pain become chains that drag you down, but to transform it into fuel for growth. When you dare to face your wounds, when you patiently heal. When you build strength upon cracked foundations, you are lighting a path for yourself, and for those who will walk after you. Meaning in life does not come from having a perfect past. It comes from turning the cracks in your heart into gateways for light to shine through. From the places you once broke, you learn compassion. From what you lacked, you understand what unconditional love truly means. From the years spent seeking acceptance, you realize the power of self-acceptance. You no longer live to fill the void others left. You live to become yourself, a being imperfect, but free and whole. At that point, the past is no longer a chain. It becomes a source of strength, a part of the awakening and maturity you consciously choose to walk into. The journey back to yourself. The journey of healing the mother wound is not a quick or straight path. It is a journey full of challenges, where you must bravely step through old pains, face forgotten shadows, and patiently rebuild the very foundation of your life. There will be days when you feel strong, and there will be days when you falter and feel weary. But each step, no matter how small, opens a new sky for you, a life where you no longer react to the past, but live as a conscious choice. You do not need to become perfect. You only need to be sincere with yourself. You do not need to erase old wounds. You only need to ensure they no longer define who you are. Because true freedom is not about forgetting the past, but about carrying it with a conscious heart and a steady hand. You are no longer the helpless child of yesterday. You have always had, and still have, the power to continue writing your story, with truth, with compassion, and with deep love for your most authentic self.